how can you start recalling your past lives? Okay. The first thing you need to recognize is that everything happening in your here and now reality is not the first time you've experienced it. Okay. Once you really let that sink in of what that means, that's peeling the veil back for you. So say the argument that you're having with your wife or the argument that you're having with your boyfriend, whatever, that's not the first time you've been in that rodeo. Maybe in that relationship it's the first time, but it's not the first time you have been on that side of the argument in those feelings. You see what I mean? Okay. So the once you start realizing that, then the mundaneness of this reality will start loosening up, and you'll start realizing that you're getting these feelings that you never, all these feelings that you've never been able to make sense of before, all of a sudden are starting to make a little bit more sense. Okay. See, what we've realized in the Dreamtime Healing Project is that, and this is a wisdom that can be known but not told. But I'm going to say it out loud, and it's just going to plant the seed. But it's not real for you until you experience it, okay? And what we have learned through experience is that the waking dream, when you're awake, you are still in a dream, just like you are when you're asleep, okay? That means that there is underlying energies behind everything happening around you. Everything. And I have a story, and I've told a story. I love this story. This is why I tell it so much. So I talked about the thousands of overlays within the 4D field and beyond. All right. So one of the other modules that we do in the Healer Acceleration Lab, I believe it was module 3, is grid work. And we do like quantum level grid work, but then also a more micro level grid work. And we had a dear sister Starshine that was struggling with aluminum poisoning. Like she had a buildup of aluminum in her system and didn't know where. And we go into, she's in the Healer Acceleration Lab and she does module 3. And then what happens, we do this grid, and she decides she wants to do a grid around her house to support the health and wellness of all the occupants of the house. So she does the grid, we help her tweak it, and I believe it was that night her Berkey stops working. You guys don't know what a Berkey is. It's a special kind of water filtration system. And so she changes the filter and thinking that must be what it is. There's a clog or something, and that doesn't do it. And then she does some research, and she found out through her research that the filters she has for her Berkey are made out of aluminum. Okay. Totally shocked her. She had no idea. Like, what? Right? So then she does more research, and she's able to find filters that aren't made for the Berkey that aren't made out of aluminum. But pretty much because the shift in that grid, that was the micro grid in her house, because of that shift, that shifted the energy in such a way she can be aware of what was part of creating the aluminum poisoning, that she was happening. You see what I mean? So that was completely unseen, that's completely in the invisible realm, but having very three-dimensional ramifications. Okay. That's how all these nesting dolls work. So everything that's happening, even a bird pooping on you, or someone cutting you off on the freeway or whatever, it may seem very mundane, but there is an unseen energy that is the precursor to that event happening in your here and now reality. You see what I mean? So once you really let that sink in and tell yourself that you're going to do your best, or tell yourself, or ask yourself, ask your inner self to give you more experiences of what that looks like for you, what that means for you. And then you're going to start dropping the veil of things just being mundane, right? You're going to drop this construct in your belief systems about, what, 3D is 3D and that's it. and somehow the unseen or the spiritual is separate from your mundane life. No, they are the same. They are overlap. They are the same. There's no separating them. Okay. So that has to be handled. And the other thing to do to enhance your capacity for lifetime recall are experiences of building a strong energy field. So that means keeping your energy clean, being integral with your behavior. And I know this seems very mundane, but this absolutely impacts your capacity to recall. Okay. Energetic cleanliness, right? Building strong energy, building up the chi, the life force in your body. There's lots of ways to do that. You could do breathing exercises. That's a very simple way, but you also can do ancestral healing work. That opens up that aperture really wide, and that's the most direct way to activate consciousness in your DNA dance, in my opinion, is the ancestor work, because you are a result of thousands of generations, right? You are the DNA dance result of thousands of generations coming forward. So you do ancestor work, you're working with the roots of why your DNA dance is hindered in this life. And you're also working at the roots of, because you're anchored in this here and now body, you're undoing the frequency match too. You're undoing the frequency match. Like you came into, I said this earlier in the chat, that as you were descending through these different nesting dolls and getting separated from source more and more and more in all these different ways, you became a frequency match for a particular lineage, and that is the lineage you've been born into. Okay. So in your ancestral work, you are pretty much undoing that frequency match, in that you are shifting the frequency of the ancestry. And because you're in a biosuit, you're also shifting your own frequency. Okay. You're waking, soul retrieval happens, life force energy reclamation happens to such a degree, your DNA dance activates, and now you're starting to recall things that was once previously agreed to forget. Okay. Next thing you could be doing is connect with your dreams. Prioritize connecting with the energy of your dreams. It doesn't matter if you understand them or not. It's just you connecting with the energy of your dreams and then meditating upon that. Okay? Meditating upon that. It doesn't matter if you only have a little snippet of a dream. Maybe you can't remember the dream at all, but you remember the feeling you woke up with. Meditate upon that. And the more you do that, the more data sets are going to come. Because when you're dreaming, this is the big difference between waking and dreaming, is different scientifically. There's different brain waves happening physiologically. So when you're awake, it's primarily beta alpha. The beta alpha waves are your active mind, your logical mind, your planning mind, all that stuff. When you're meditating, it's like delta theta. And when you're in deep sleep, it's also delta and theta. So when you are in a deep sleep and you're in a, and your dreams are happening, those dreams are happening while you have a different kind of brainwave pattern living inside of your brain, okay, inside of your being. Versus when you're awake, it's an alpha beta pattern. It's a completely different rhythm. So when you practice taking your conscious awareness and connecting in with the dream realm and with the sleeping brain waves, or the deep focus meditation brain waves, there's also omega brain waves too. I forgot to mention those. Anyway, those are, by practicing that, you are retraining your brain to have the alpha, beta, delta, theta brain waves happening all at the same time. So it's like you're exercising your brain, and you're exercising your capacity to have multiple rhythms going on. So you can see things in a very free and liberated way. And then that's also opening the doorway to the communication with your ancestors, communication with your I'll just say star family, elemental family, stuff like this.